Knowing who to save for, who to prioritize building can save you from making a critical mistake. It also alleviates a little of the stress involved in starting a new game the size and scale of Wuthering Waves. At release, there are going to be a grand total of 17 characters available. Deciding which characters you want to focus on building is going to be of paramount importance. Otherwise, you'll waste precious time and resources building someone who's going to end up relatively useless, albeit pretty to look at. Today, I'm going to rank every single Resonator from SS to C rank. That way you can begin your journey on Solaris 3 with the correct allies. It's worth noting that this is based off of the second closed beta, which means that early patches may shift the power of certain Resonators around. If you're interested in other guides for Wuthering Waves, including an important beginner's guide, then I urge you to click one of the links down in the description, the pinned comment, or at the end of the video. They're going to be integral to your success in the short term. Before jumping in, I also want to give credit to Pridewin. They have some incredible guides over there for dozens of games, including Wuthering Waves, that'll no doubt be of significant benefit to players. I'll be using part of their guides in the guides that I'm making in an effort to bring you the most secure, concrete, accurate information possible. I'd also like to thank my incredible patrons over on Patreon and YouTube members who allow for me to continue to do dedicated videos like this every single day. You guys are all the best, and I cannot thank you all enough for the support. Let's begin with Aalto, the 4-star arrow element resonator. Aalto uses pistols as a weapon. Aalto is a sub-DPS resonator. His kit allows you to more rapidly move around the battlefield, dodge abilities. He has a beneficial passive, providing him a guaranteed crit every 30 seconds, even when he's not actively being controlled. Having him in your group also boosts arrow damage, making him a fantastic boost to characters like Jiyan or Jianxin. Outside of that, I really don't find him to serve much purpose, so I'm going to go ahead and place him into the B category. Next, Baizhi, a 4-star resonator with the Glacial element using the Rectifier weapon type. Baizhi is a support resonator with most of her kit revolving around healing party members. Baizhi, who you obtain as part of the story, doesn't really provide much benefit to the party outside of healing. She has an attack buff, increasing a party member's attack by 15%, lasting for 20 seconds. Since she is one of the very small selection of healers, I'm going to place her into the A category. You'll probably find yourself being forced to use her for certain content. Then we have Calcharo, the 5-star resonator with the Electro element using the Broadblade weapon type. Calcharo is a main DPS resonator. He was incredibly powerful during the second closed beta and is likely to receive a little rebalancing so he doesn't break ahead of Jiyan. Calcharo doesn't really have any buffs per se, however he has a very high damage output that continues to increase the longer the fight goes on and will largely benefit from having a resonator that can boost his base attack. He is without a doubt an SS category resonator. Chixia is a 4-star resonator with the fusion element using pistols as a weapon type. Chixia is a main DPS resonator like Baizhi. You get her as part of the main story. Free characters are notorious in gacha games for being inferior to premium characters, and that isn't totally untrue in this instance. Much like Aalto, she is a ranged character but has less utility since she has no guaranteed crit passive or boost to elemental damage, which is why I would put her in the B category. Danjin is a 4-star resonator with the Havoc element using a sword as her weapon type. Danjin is a priority 4-star resonator. She has the highest damage output of all 4-star DPS during the second closed beta test, and also has one of the most fun playstyles. Her resonant skill causes her to lose HP, providing her a more berserker archetype, but she possesses the ability to self-heal to a degree. You can mitigate her health loss with the inclusion of a healer to your team, and most importantly, during the higher levels of hologram fights, where bosses 1 or 2 tap you, her HP draining abilities are of no concern. I would place her in the S category purely due to her raw damage output. Encore is a 5-star resonator with the fusion element using the Rectifier weapon type. Encore is a main DPS resonator. She doesn't have the highest damage output of all the 5-star resonators, but she has a lot of utility in so that she provides a beneficial damage reduction buff that deals damage when it expires. This buff continues even when swapping characters, making her a great defensive addition to teams. Her solid damage and defensive buffs make her ideal for more difficult encounters, landing her in the S category. Jianxin is a 5-star resonator with the arrow element using the gauntlet weapon type. Jianxin was a very important part of my team composition during the second closed beta. I found her extremely useful for a number of different reasons. She has good damage, she can shield, she has buffs, she can pull enemies in, making AoEing them extremely easy, maximizing your damage output. Her only drawback was that her Forte circuit ability took longer to charge than most, making her a little more difficult to utilize. She's an easy S category resonator though, and I think one of the few characters you should definitely focus on obtaining. Dragon Daddy Jiyan is a 5-star resonator with the arrow element using the broadblade weapon type. Jiyan should be the first limited 5-star character and is a main DPS. He's one of the main damage dealers in the game, dealing significant damage to enemies during his liberation state. All of his normal attacks turn into empowered heavy attacks, meaning characters like Aalto, who boost arrow damage, are beneficial to maximizing his potential. Jiyan is another SS category resonator, and is definitely not going to be the last. Lingyang is a 5-star resonator with the glacial element using the gauntlet weapon type. Lingyang is a difficult resonator to place, since during the closed beta test he was one of the poorer performing resonators, but Kudo have confirmed that they will be reworking him for the full release of the game. Lingyang's damage wasn't great. He didn't really have any beneficial buffs that would affect the party, no real support skills, making him fairly useless outside of his own self-sufficient playstyle. I would put him in the A category though, because on his own, he isn't bad at all, but he is still one of the worst performing 5-star resonators, at least in terms of party benefit. Mortefi is a 4-star resonator with the fusion element using the pistol weapon type. Mortefi is a sub DPS resonator that provides a significant benefit to damage both on and off field. His liberation skill Violent Finale adds the Burning Rhapsody buff to every character on the team for 15 seconds, adding additional damage from Mortefi depending on whether you use a basic or heavy attack. This is a great boost to max damage output, and further boosts characters that already deal substantial damage. His outro skill, Rage Transposition, also provides a 38% boost to heavy attack damage lasting for 14 seconds, which is a fantastic boost to resonators like Jiyan. Mortefi is an easy S category resonator due to his utility. The player character, the Rover, has the Spectro element using the sword weapon type. Like most games, the Rover isn't necessarily going to excel in any single area. They're the character you start the game with, and while they do deal moderate damage, they have no real utility at present. It might be a good idea to invest into them if you're interested in the elemental resistance shredding that they gain access to. Currently, I'd put the Rover into the B category. Sanhua is a 4-star resonator with the glacial element using the sword weapon type. Sanhua is a main DPS resonator that players will obtain for free after logging in for 5 days. Unfortunately, she doesn't have a whole lot of utility outside of her ability to boost basic attack damage with her outro skill, making her a great addition to a team with a focus on resonators that span their basic attack and her relatively rapid damage output. I'd place her in the A category. Taoqi is a 4-star resonator with the Havoc element using the broad blade weapon type. Taoqi is another interesting character in so that she functions as a tank. She generates shields, performs parries with ease, can tank powerful hits from bosses if you spec into defensive stats, but as noted earlier, when hologram bosses 1 or 2 tap you, it doesn't matter how much damage you can absorb or dilute in normal content. When your damage output is low and you offer no viable benefits, you're essentially useless. She works for easier content, but for players that want to build resonators that they can use for all types of content, Taoqi is a definite pass. It is worth noting her outro skill, 1000 pounds, does boost resonance skill damage by 38% for 14 seconds, so she doesn't entirely lack use. SS category in terms of appearance, B category outside of that. Verina is a 5-star resonator with the Spectro element using the Rectifier weapon type. Much like Baizhi, she functions primarily as a support, providing 2 different attack buffs. Gift of Nature adds a 20% boost to the attack of characters in the team for 20 seconds to your Resonance skill, Resonance Liberation, or Outro skill, while the Outro skill specifically provides you with a 15% raw damage boost for all teammates for 30 seconds. She provides a ton of healing utility and allows, much like Mortefi, players to perform coordinated attacks with other resonators. Not only healing, not only boosting the attack of, but also dealing additional damage with other characters. Her passive also nullifies fatal damage once every 10 minutes, which is a great passive to have against powerful hologram bosses. Verina is an SS category resonator, arguably the most flexible and most important resonator in the game. Yangyang is a 4-star resonator with the arrow element using the sword weapon type. Yangyang is a sub DPS that players will obtain very early on as part of the main story. Her resonance skill and liberation, breezy domain, and wind spirals both pull surrounding enemies together, dealing arrow damage and allowing you to quickly finish them off with AoEs. She can also recover energy with her outro skill, but otherwise underperforms in every aspect. I'd place her in the B category. Mommy Yinlin is a 5-star resonator with the electro element using the Rectifier weapon type. Yinlin is the most popular character in the game, the Kafka of Wuthering Waves, if you will. She won't be available at release and will follow Jiyan as a limited banner character, giving players a chance to actually save up for her. Yinlin deals extremely high damage. She can boost her own damage with Magnetic Roar, boost critical hit rate by 15% with Pain Immersion, increase electro damage by 20% and liberation damage by 25% with her Aalto skill, while continuing to deal damage even while swapped off field. I strongly believe that after Verina, Yinlin is the second most important Resonator to obtain in the game. Thankfully, she's stunning to look at since we're likely going to make a lot of use of her, easily in SS category. Yuanwu is a 4-star Resonator with the Electro element using the Gauntlet weapon type. Yuanwu is a sub DPS that you'll obtain free during the game. Unfortunately, he is going to compete directly against Yinlin for the Electro spot in your team and will fail in every aspect. He functions similarly to Mortefi and has the ability to deal damage while not deployed out onto the field. He allows for coordinated attacks and has a focus on defense scaling, making him less ideal for people that want to maximize damage or want Resonators that are going to provide beneficial boosts to their team. Definitely a B category Resonator. And that is my tier list, ranking every character based off of how they contribute to the party overall and what benefits they serve. Surprisingly, there was not a single character that I thought was entirely useless and deserved a C category ranking. These characters will likely change, they will shift positions after release, so I might do a follow-up video after the game launches, but until then, I hope this helps steer you in the right direction. Again, if you're looking for other guides, click one of the videos on screen right now, or the links in the description, the pinned comment below, but most importantly, have fun in Wuthering Waves.